Nice to see you all so bright and early. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, firstly, is, as you see, the new color chart. What I left out of that heading is the proposed new color chart. And so whenever I talk about the new color chart, it's going to be the proposed one. That is what the proposed new color chart looks like. There you can see it in the flesh. If you note, there are 8 swatches, and each one is named after a particular group, whether it's red, orange, bronze, yellow, etc. That was the original color chart, the one side of it, and there were 23 colors here. There is the other side of it. It's quite an interesting one, this. Can anybody spot the mistake? Yeah, this particular color chart is the one and only color chart where the printers got it wrong. They transposed that. Now, if you take stamps, and when there's an error on a stamp, it makes it far more valuable. This being the only one, why don't we auction this at its great value for the benefit of the club? Maybe if we've got time, we'll do that afterwards. Royal Horticultural Society color chart. Now, what you'll see is that when we use this color chart, it is very simple to use. It's designed to be simple to be used. It's proposed, and we'll talk about it in a minute. We also looked with those original 2 color charts, which were basically put together by Mick Dow, John Winter, myself, and Mickey Hochter also had some input. So I can really talk to you about the first 2 color charts. Any technical questions on the proposed color chart, I will defer to Dave. Simple is best. What it allows you to do is to look at the colors that you see here, decide which group your clivia fits in, and if it is between the 2 colors, that's the group it's going to be. It's no longer designed to match any color. Not that the second color chart was really designed for matching colors, but the second color chart has about 100 colors on it, whereas something like the RHS color chart has over 1,000. When we were looking at it, we tried to match firstly to the RHS color chart, then to Pantone color charts, to get colors that matched clivias. And the way in which we did this is in flowering season, we got everybody to donate tepals, which we put on sheets of paper, and we looked at those colors in detail, and we then chose colors out of those genuine clivia colors. And we went to Coates Color inks, and they provided a color mixer expert for us. And Mick Dow and myself went to our printers, and we then watched him mix colors to match what we wanted and approved it. Whether this was a tactical error or not, I don't know. But in both the RHS color chart and Pantone, we could not find very many colors that actually matched Clivia colors. And realize that this was done almost 20 years ago, and we didn't have the range of colors in Clivia that we actually have now. When you choose colors of Clivias like Ghost Splashes, Versi colors, it's difficult because there's more than one color or more than one color tone or hue. But by definition, these are almost a group on their own. And if you want to actually have a color for it, the idea is to pick the predominant color. Understanding what this color chart is designed to do, it gives you the group, as I've said, and you fit your Clivia into that particular range. Does not try and match colors, and the designated ranges will probably have to be refined before it becomes an actual color chart, and there may be colors added as well. But there are also practical considerations that will have to be taken into account. If you want to look at a Clivia with the new color chart, that particular Clivia and was taken 10 years ago, that photograph, so the color chart has been inserted into it. So even if you see a color chart in with your Clivia, it does not necessarily mean that it was taken with the Clivia, and it's no guarantee of color. And the other thing I want to point out on this one is it was taken with a white background, and it was taken outside. It wasn't, there was no artificial light for this particular Clivia. Enthusiasts should really buy a color chart if you're intending to show plants, or if you want to sell Clivia. Either way, this allows you to say which group the Clivia falls into, and you're not specifying a color that somebody might be later unhappy with. Are there any questions about the color chart? Anyone? Yes. Chris.
Claude, morning. I just wanted to know how far we are down the process, and I'm asking it from an ordinary member's point of view. We've heard, that it's under investigation, if I could call it that at the moment, but can you perhaps fill us in where we are?
I will ask Dave to answer that question.
Chris, we haven't got any more of the second color card available, so we have to make a plan and move forward. We've manufactured 2 color cards for each club. The idea was that one went to the chairman and one went to the judge of the main judge of the group. So our next, we're waiting for the flower season to end. I think we put a time down the end of October. We'll contact everybody again and say, you're happy with it? We've picked some problems up. Peach, for instance, is a problem. But it's negotiation. We want to, it's out there. People must try it. If it works, good and well, we'll go into production. If we've got to go and re-look at a color, we'll re-look at a color. So there's nothing cast in stone yet.
Could we not keep the second color chart, but just reprint it and put the colors all together on the same sachet? Because some of them actually on 2 or 3 sachets, for example, pink or orange sometimes goes on to 2 or 3 different portions of the chart, and that would make it much easier. And I think that would be adequate.
Yeah, there are difficulties here, and that is why I said that when we chose to do the second color chart the way we did, it may have been a tactical error, but I don't really think it was. You see, having mixed the inks to match, we don't have those inks anymore. The printers kept them for, will normally keep for 5 years the ink that was left over, but they actually did keep it a bit longer, but we didn't need to reprint. Now, if we want to reprint, it would be exceptionally expensive. We'd have to have somebody to mix the colors to the right tone again, and they're 100 colors. So, and some of the colors we'd probably refine anyhow. But it's, you know, if somebody wants to sponsor the printing of a color chart like that, I'm sure the society would look at it. But it's going to be expensive, so I don't think it's practical.
You do realize that color is a continuum. It starts from white, it goes to black, and everything is in between. Do you know how many color charts, how many swatches we would need to cover it all? 1 million? 2 million? It isn't practical. And so the philosophy behind the new card, and you may buy it and you may not, but the philosophy is to say the color starts here and it ends here. And anything in between falls on that card. To my way of thinking, rationally, it is the most sensible approach to take. There should not be a clivia that we cannot place on a card. You just can't print enough swatches. Thank you.
Yeah, my own feeling is that maybe the new color card can face a little bit of refinement, but I think it works pretty well at the moment. It may not be the ultimate color chart, but if you use it in that way, and I'm sure that it's going to change slightly, you'll have a good tool to work with.
Isn't it time that we invest in an app that can identify the color and tell you immediately what it is? Electronics become very powerful, and it's the fashion nowadays. There's an app for everything.
No such app for general use is available, and the reason for that, you will hear when I get on to the photography part of this talk, basically because if you have the app, and I have the app, and Glenn has the app, and you use it on your computer or your phone, and I use it on mine, I'm not going to get exactly the same color result, because screens and different manufacturers have different color gamuts that they use on their device. And yes, you can, Mickey, when you wanted to, as a printer, when you wanted to identify a particular color, there was a way that you could do it, but that was within your printing works.
Every computer is different. The screens we had in doing graphics, etc., to produce our magazines and books, those screens cost like 30 or 40,000 rand, probably even more today. But that is at least to try and get a standard which is acceptable worldwide. So, as Claude says, you're going to have a massive problem because everyone's screen is different, and most home computers are inexpensive. Therefore, the screen is not accurate at all. So, on those grounds, they wouldn't. With what we're going for exact color, you're not going to achieve us on most apps and these odds and ends, because everyone's room is different, and so it's very good, but it's not ideal,
This means the revision of the different classes there must be a revision of the different classes, because we've now got orange, light orange, and dark orange, and that makes it very, very difficult, the new card, to define the different classes as such.
If it's orange, it can and fits into the orange gamut, or between those colors, then that's fine. at a later stage that you'll decide whether it's a light orange or a dark orange or whatever. This is only trying to say which particular section it fits into. And we'll come up with some sort of regulation or even possibly colors. I don't know, but we'll do something to see which class it fits into.
Human beings remember things better and manage things better when we pigeonhole them. So that's why botanists and taxonomists have genera and species and so forth. And that partitions are not actually necessarily always entirely defensible. And so sometimes two things may be in two different genera, and then all of a sudden they'll decide, no, these two genera are not different enough. They're the same genus. They do the same with species. So depending on who you listen to, there may be 650 Erica species. Some people say maybe they're less than 600 because we lump things together. And then the splitters say, no, there are more of them because they're different. The same is going to happen with color. We actually need to ask ourselves a primary question. Why does the color matter? And why does it matter how we divide our classes? And I'm going to suggest that as long as we have a structured, systematic way of comparing apples with apples, if the system ends up a different system, it's not bad because it's different from what it is now. The question is it manageable? Is it fair? Does it serve us well? So if we ask those questions, we may come to the conclusion, you may come to the conclusion, which to me, I think is settled already. We, in classifying claviers with regard to color and shape and so forth, are actually trying to direct and drive the development of claviers. How did we get all these new colors and styles and all the rest? Well, we started recognizing certain features and saying that scores points at a show. The second you do that, somebody says, do you know that some of the clavier forms have more or less disappeared from the show classes? Or where are the tulips? We've got almost nothing left for tulips anymore. We've got open, reflexed, very little for tulips. Now, if we don't do something about that, and now I'm talking about shape for a moment, if we don't do something like that, there is little incentive to develop tulips. Now, there is little incentive to develop color unless a particular type of color deserves recognition. So let's say, for instance, we're trying to work towards white. Then we may say, and I haven't seen a real white yet. I've seen stuff that comes close, but I've never seen a white. So if we were to say yellows towards white in that range, the closer you are to white, the higher the score you get. Then you now have a driver towards developing white. It's not that you're not going to score a nice yellow, but perhaps you are going to say to somebody, it's worth pursuing white. So the same as blues, which who knows if we'll ever see them, and purples and dark reds and all these sort of things. We don't just need to rethink the labeling of the color. We need to think, why are we doing this and what are we trying to achieve? Does it help the development of claviers? Does it help us fairly to assess them? The philosophical question is actually a lot wider than just the color chart, but I absolutely take the point. When you mess with the color chart, and I don't mean mess in a nasty way, if you tweak the color chart, you're going to have to rethink exactly how you manage your classes.
This is a nice, simple way, the color chart, and I must congratulate the guy with the idea. But I think for the public, it is maybe difficult to start with a almost white light pink and a very dark pink and something in between, to compare that with a peach that is in between. For some people, it could be difficult. Don't you think it will be better to put in a middle color as well in every chart, or maybe two colors, like a 0%, a 33, a 66, and a 100, just to make it easier for the public? I think the problem will be between the pinks and the peaches, maybe. Just to, me and you can maybe put a color that is in between. We know it's in the pink or the peach, but to make it easier for all the people to put a middle color in that chart. I think it will be maybe helpful for the public. Thanks.
Firstly, you know, everybody sees color slightly differently, and part of it is what you learnt as a color as a child, as a young child. And if I were to put up on the screen here a rainbow, and I asked each person to come with a pin and say where red became orange, where orange became yellow, everybody would put that pin in a slightly different place. So it's, I understand what you're saying, but it does to a certain, it makes sense in a way, but it also then gets people to try and match a color. Oh, it's closer to that color in the middle. And really we just, as I see it anyhow, we're trying to just lump the Clivia with the purpose of this color chart into a group.
We did consider doing something like that. The problem is that we restrict it with Pantone. Pantone only have got certain colors. The idea of using Pantone is that the same color card can be reproduced in America, or it can be done in the UK or wherever, because it's a standard color. So our comment to everybody out there is, if you've got a problem with one of the colors, just don't say to us, here's a problem. Please go to a sign writer, ask them for the Pantone color card, and make a suggestion that that's the color you want on the card. Just don't throw it back at us, because we're just going to throw it back at you. This, I think, is about the 4th version that we've gone through. Yes, we got a problem with peach. I'd admit it. We found out. But if everybody wants a middle color, well, let's put a middle color in. It's not too late. It's just going to push costs up a little bit. But if everybody wants a middle color and you feel it's there, maybe we'll come to you and say, help us with choosing a color for the middle color.
We have a principle at the time of judging, which I call on the nod. Now, I am not a person who plays on the GGs on the horses, but a horse has a long stride where he stretches and his neck is out and his back leg's out and his forelegs out, and then he brings his legs together and he punches up and then he stretches. Now, sometimes 2 horses may be running together, and the one is on his stretch and the other one is on his contraction, and the one that's on his stretch has got his nose in front, and he wins. It's called on the nod, as he nods. Now, when we judge Clivias, we judge them on the nod. At the finishing line, which is when the judge is judging at the show. What it was before, what it's going to be, doesn't matter. We judge it on the nod at the finishing line. That's the best you can do, because you're chasing a moving target.